Imagine a game where every enemy encounter feels personal, where your enemies remember your past battles, they taunt you for running away, or vow to take revenge after being beaten. That's exactly what the Nemesis system in Shadow of War delivers. I still remember the satisfaction I got from killing an orc captain named Horza after he repeatedly ambushed and taunted me before killing me. But when I finally got my revenge, well, not many games can capture that feeling. The Nemesis system creates enemies with unique combinations of traits and personalities. The thing that makes it truly special though, is that each enemy remembers all of your past encounters and will evolve and change as you progress through the game, depending on how you've interacted with them, making each encounter truly personal.
Meet my claw! Perhaps you don't recognize me, because now I have a claw where my hand used to be. You took one of my bits. Now I'm gonna take one of yours.
Now let's imagine if this system wasn't patented. How could it transform other games? In this video, we'll explore some of the theoretical possibilities. Surprisingly, I wasn't able to find many examples of similar systems used in games prior to 2014's Shadow of Mordor, when the Nemesis system was first introduced. There have been a few examples since though, like the 2019 racing game Grid, which saw opponents adopt a more aggressive driving style if the player collided with them throughout the race. But it didn't go any deeper than that, and it didn't persist outside of individual races. The most direct comparison I can think of is 2020's Watch Dogs Legion, which used a similar system that procedurally generates people with unique traits and abilities.
May die randomly? R.I.P. Ellen.
But in comparison to the Nemesis system, it just didn't have the same impact on gameplay and lacked the elements that made the experience feel truly unique and personal. But how might it look in other games? Could you imagine a game like Far Cry or Ghost Recon, but the enemy factions have evolving hierarchies? Enemy outposts could have real purpose instead of just being static objectives on the map. Strategically assassinating key members of their hierarchy could make it easier to overcome major bases. Maybe they call for reinforcements but nobody comes. Captains would seek you out and ambush you when you least expect it, vowing to take revenge for killing one of their buddies. I'm not talking about mindless patrolling, but actively hunting the player down as they go about their business. They know how to retreat if it looks like you're getting the upper hand, and they might come back with better weapons and a bigger squad if you leave them unchecked. And most importantly, the enemy captains remember you. They remember your past interactions. They react accordingly, yelling taunts at you in between gunfire about how you had to run away last time because they almost killed your squad. Maybe you get injured and they let you go as a way to humiliate you. The Nemesis system in these games would really take them to a new level of immersion, with the stakes feeling way more personal. But this type of game lends itself well to the Nemesis system because it isn't too far removed from the Middle-earth games. They're all open-world RPGs with enemies who will try to kill you on sight as you try to take out their bases. Could the Nemesis system work in other genres? How about sporting games? While doing research for this video, I actually learned that the Nemesis system was inspired by sports games because of their potential for building a unique personal story through the course of a season. If players aren't given the option to restart, it builds tension and rivalries and a thirst for revenge, so it stands to reason that it would work well in sporting games. Imagine you got the latest NBA 2K game and you start a new career playthrough. Your player accidentally knocks over a player from the opposing team in one of the first matches you play. Now you've got a rival for the rest of the season. Maybe that player was injured as a result and isn't at the next couple of matches you play against that team. And then when he reappears a few games later, he starts yelling out to you from across the court. And then he aggressively blocks you and tries to make you foul for the remainder of the game, and every game thereafter. Maybe he even tries to injure you. But it doesn't have to be limited to that one player. You would have these run-ins with every player you come up against, as well as varying relationships with players on your own team. Maybe you miss a few easy shots, and some of your teammates hold a grudge and stop passing you the ball. Maybe some players on the opposing team see you absolutely shred a few games and think that you're great, so you take a contract with that team. Just like in Shadow of War, all of the players would also experience these relationships with each other, maybe adapting their playstyles, learning new stats or skills to beat certain players or teams that they've lost to before. Even the press conferences could be influenced by this, with players making comments about other players or teams based on specific events that happened during your playthrough. Not just the generic, "Oh, I'm so glad we beat that team," but more like, "I can't believe Jackson thought he could come at me like that." It would feel like a living, breathing game world that creates unique and personal experiences for each player. Granted, I'm no programmer, but I am aware that the Nemesis system is no doubt a technical feat that not all developers would likely even want to tackle. The amount of dialogue alone needed for this system is insane to think about. I just think it would take so many games to a new level of immersion and take modern gaming to a whole new place. Personally, I'm looking forward to seeing how it's used in the upcoming Wonder Woman game, and maybe we'll see it implemented in other future DC games, maybe even a new Arkham game. I know Warner Bros. Have a business to run, but a big part of me hopes that someone figures out a loophole or a system that is just different enough to work in a similar way without being sued. Otherwise, we'll have to wait until 2035 when the patent ends to find out what developers can really do with this system. And by then, who knows what games will look like. If you were or are a game designer, how would you use the Nemesis system? What genres would you like to see it in? How would it work? Leave a comment below and let me know. If you're still here, I just wanted to say, thanks for watching my very first YouTube video. This channel is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. I love learning about game design, and one of my favorite things to do is imagine how mechanics and systems from one game might work in another game or genre. I'm hoping to do more of these, so if you thought this was an interesting thought experiment, or if you have any games with interesting mechanics you would like me to check out, then let me know in the comments. Until next time.